Welcome everybody to this webinar. And first of all, thank you for coming and joining and taking time out of your busy day to join this webinar. My name is Bora Brandström. I am your host for this webinar that's going to last 90 minutes. And it's around effective marketing communications with Salesforce. And the goal is really, really simple. It's to fill up your toolbox with tools and insights that you need to utilize effective marketing communication in Salesforce. The first presenter is Neil Hayek. So Neil is a product manager in Salesforce Experience Cloud. He's been at Salesforce for 15 years and has been part of the Experience Cloud since it was first created and called Community Cloud 10 years ago. He's been a product manager working on content authoring for Salesforce CMS for the past 4 years. Neil, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. Yep, my name is Neil Hayek, and I'm in Experience Cloud. And I do want to note that many of you may have known it as Community Cloud. We've changed the name 2020, actually, because we felt Experience Cloud more closely as aligned with our charter. Segue into our charter. Our goal at Experience Cloud is to deliver a platform that supports the digital imperative. Especially in the last few years, the need for digital has expanded worldwide. So, while talking about our mission for Experience Cloud, starting that over. Let me move tools here. So, our goal is to support the digital imperative, as I said, through a variety of tools. We want to be a platform to support this. And especially in the last few years, the digital imperative has expanded worldwide. So our goal is to support the entire customer lifecycle. So we want to provide the ability to affect them to build awareness through campaign microsites, through landing pages. We want to be able to help you acquire customers, such as through storefronts. Once customers are acquired, we want you to be able to help them through account portals and help centers, forums, etc. And also, of course, to retain your customers through loyalty apps. So we want to help throughout the life cycle, and we want to help across digital experiences. So emails, websites, mobile, etc. That is our imperative, why we want to build the Experience Cloud platform. An integral part to any of these experiences is the content. So this is an area I've been working on. You heard in the introduction, I've been working on the content authoring aspect of it. So that, Experience Cloud has been around for nearly 10 years. It had been focused more on the site creation side, and newer in the last few years, we've been focusing more on the content creation aspect to bring the two together, to build the end-to-end picture for creating your site and other experiences. So CMS, the authoring aspect allows you to create a variety of content, such as news articles, blogs, announcements that you might have in either emails or websites or social media. We are built for many use cases, but one of our major focuses as of late has been around marketers. And you'll see that you see what's new is these microsites. They're actually new this year. I'll be talking a bit more about that. So microsites, and I'm going to show you how content and microsites work together to enable marketers without any code to be able to create the content and publish it to a site. So Salesforce CMS, we consider it a hybrid CMS. What does that mean? Some CMS systems are considered a headless CMS system, which means they are meant to be used in conjunction with other applications, say other software, often developer focused, in order to create content in one place and utilize it elsewhere. And in contrast to that, there are some CMS systems where the content creation is tightly coupled for a use case, such as creating content for an email or creating content for a website. With Salesforce CMS, we want to support both use cases, which is why we are considered a hybrid CMS. So one of our goals is to allow you to create content in only one place and syndicate it for all of these other use cases. You can see a list here of both websites. They could just be like your .com website. They could be your storefront. Emails, social, mobile applications. These are tools that we could actually work as Salesforce. We could act as a headed or headless CMS, depending on if you want to use Salesforce's offerings for sites and emails, etc. If you have your own use cases, external applications, kiosk as it shows down there on the bottom, this is where you use our headless channel. And within one workspace, you're able to publish to all of these. You can control it. I can talk to you a bit more about workspaces in a moment. I want to talk to you a bit more about microsites. Again, one of the latest offerings to CMS. Microsites are great because they enable marketers to launch a site. It says within minutes, and you technically could do it in minutes. I'd say hours a bit more realistic, but you could do it without code, which is the amazing thing, and you can achieve some great results for a variety of use cases. You can leverage kind of the whole platform, the Experience Cloud that's been building for 10 years, this platform, and the Salesforce platform, which has been being built for over 20 years. So with just this newest offering that we have, it unlocks a whole bunch of potential, decades of potential, I would say. And one of the tenets for this is we need, one of the focuses of Experience Cloud as of late has been to be able to scale for all these additional use cases. So for those a bit more familiar with it, you might have heard that we have a runtime called LWR. And this is called Lightning Web Component Runtime. And this is meant to support higher scale and have faster page load times. And this template is built on top of that. Now, I'm going to walk you through some of the tools to show you end-to-end how you can go from creating content to putting on a website. To start off with, we're in our Digital Experiences app. So this is the homepage of where you can create content or create sites. Here you're able to see CMS workspaces and the sites. A workspace is where you're going to author the content. So this is where you create articles, news, blogs, etc. Whereas the sites are where you're going to be, hopefully self-explanatory, creating your site for the variety of use cases you saw in my first slide. So digging in a bit more to the workspace. So workspace is where you could create a workspace for any organizational purposes you have. It could be based off of team, it could be based off of region. A workspace controls who can create content in it and what are their permissions. And it especially controls where you publish content to. So that slide a few slides ago, where it showed syndicating content to different channels for different use cases, that's controlled here on the workspace home. You see a publication calendar, so you can schedule when the content is published to these different channels. Looking at the bottom part, you can see different content types. So this is the shape of your content. You see news and images in the screenshot. You can create custom types, though, to fit your needs. So a blog might be more advanced, an announcement might be simpler than news. That's up to you. So drilling into what content looks like. So when you choose to create new content, this is actually content that's already been created. When you choose to create it, these fields are going to be editable. At the moment, this is published content, so it is non-editable. From the content page is where you're going to create content. It's also where you'll see translations. You can see there's a tab for it right over here. You can preview your content on your site. You can see the history of your content as well. I want you to pay attention to the parts that are highlighted because you'll see how the content goes from this structure. This is kind of a form structure. It doesn't look too fancy, and this is intentional. The reason is because, again, the content can be syndicated to multiple channels. So of this content, you might want to display more of it in an email or a website than you do in, say, an SMS message. So in this example, highlighting the title of this new coffee machine, the picture of the coffee machine, and the excerpt. Those are the fields that you're going to see here when creating our microsite. So this is our Experience Builder tool. And this is the tool that's been worked on for several years, longer than the content authoring aspect, for those familiar with it. It's a very powerful tool. It's a WYSIWYG tool for building your website, and it's based off of templates and components. So template, a template is an important term because what we introduced most recently is this marketing template. The template controls the structure of your website. So you'll see that it has a banner on top. It has components listed for presenting content. I don't have it in the screenshot here. There's a navigation bar. The template will get you is what helps you get where you need very quickly when creating a site. And while we have a marketing template for that use case, there's other templates for customer service, commerce, and on the Salesforce App Exchange, there's even templates built by partners and others that they've shared that you're able to do. So a variety of ways to get started, again, without code. And in here, it's only a screenshot, so I can't show so much of this. Those options on the left-hand side over here allows you to add more components to the page. Components can represent a variety of things. You could just have, say, an HTML rich text component if you want to create something custom. You could pull in data from other parts of Salesforce as well. Behind the scenes, you're able to personalize this. So you could say that I want an unauthenticated user to view one thing or an authenticated user view another, or people from this region or that region to view different content. So it's a very powerful and established platform. And it has nearly 70,000 sites, last I recall, and it actually might be some old info running on this platform. So again, comparing the previous slide where you just saw the title and the image, it didn't look too fancy inside of the authoring. But here is where, when you go to this component, this is a content component, and you could say, I want an image to be displayed here, and I want the title and the excerpt to be displayed. And this is, of course, customizable, and you could change the layout of it. You could change what information is displayed. Again, this very powerful tool to enable marketers to create this site without any code. This is the experience. This is the kind of builder tool of it. Just wanted to show you a glimpse of how the final site looks. So again, it looks pretty similar. I mentioned that there is a navigation bar. So this is just one example. This is just one layout for one use case, say marketing a new product. Microsites can be used for a variety of use cases. Blogs, for example, this will look very different if you wanted to be hosting a lot of blogs. And you could have both. You could have a tab on the top. So you have a page for your landing page for your products. You could have promotional blogs or events, for example. It can be a multi-page site. So one of the differences between microsites and some of the other offerings we have either at Salesforce or through other like landing page offerings. With that, I hope I was clear enough, but I'm going to be happy to take questions. That's all I have to present. So open for questions.
Great. Thank you, Neil, for sharing that. So if you have questions, do drop them in the chat. We have 5 minutes where we can do questions. So drop them in the chat and I'll happily read them to Neil. So if you have questions, drop them in the chat, either private or in the general chat, and I will run them by Neil. So Neil, let's just give people a few more minutes. And so here's one, Neil. How do microsites in Experience Cloud compare with cloud pages in Marketing Cloud?
All right. Yep. So I was actually good time for that question. So I was just mentioning that about a microsite can be multiple pages. That's one difference. To be a bit more thorough, cloud pages are meant to be more like a landing page. They're good for lighter weight use cases, and they're good when you don't have any additional data for your customer. So you have a new campaign, you want to promote just one page, a bit of information. Works well for that use case. A microsite can be used for that, but it could also be expanded for other use cases. So it could be multiple pages. It could be more interactive than just a landing page to be informative. It could be data driven from data within Marketing Cloud, Sales Cloud, or other parts of Salesforce. Plus, it has out-of-the-box integration with Salesforce CMS, as I showed you. So through clicks, you can create a landing page while leveraging your content. So it also has integration with other clouds of Salesforce rather well, like Sales Cloud is, again, so you could personalize your data or you could present data relevant to your customers. So I'd say a landing page is more lightweight. A microsite could have more complexity.
Okay, thank you. A question here from Håkan. Are there any SEO functionality?
Yeah, so I didn't show the administrative aspect of it, but yeah, certainly it's top priority for any site. We know it. There is SEO capabilities.
Okay, super. Another one here. So what is the future vision for Salesforce CMS?
So actually, since this is a well-timed presentation, just last month we exposed a bit of our vision. With our latest release, the spring release, we announced the beta for what we call enhanced workspaces. So if you've seen CMS, then we played around with the application. I would invite you to check out our enhanced workspaces. We started CMS a few years ago, about 4 years ago, as the introduction said, and I was there at the start. And we thought we were going to be supporting Community Cloud at the time, so kind of limited use cases. But as we were building it, there were many other use cases, both within Community Cloud, now Experience Cloud, as well as other parts of Salesforce. And this caused us to kind of have to rethink about our platform. So we've been working for about the past 2 years on creating a new platform, and we decided to call it Enhanced Workspaces, currently in beta. One of the tenets for this new platform is around extensibility. It's going to be very extensible, plugins that both customers and developers could plug into, as well as extensible for other parts of Salesforce. So you're going to be seeing more integration of our CMS with parts of Salesforce, and that's I'd say those are the main aspects of the vision.
Neil, thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for answering those questions.
Certainly.
So let's move over to the next presenter. So the next person is Maziar Nodehi. Maziar is the co-founder and CRO of Venizum, where I also sit as the chairman. With his 10+ years of experience within sales and marketing, he truly has a passion for streamlining and optimizing enterprise clients' marketing processes. He describes himself as a Salesforce nerd. That's a new one, Maziar, and loves to find gaps in the Salesforce ecosystem that needs to be filled. Today, he will walk us through how to do translation and localization in Salesforce. Maziar, over to you.
Thank you for that, Bora. Can you just confirm, Bora, that my screen is shared?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you. So yes, thank you for that intro. As Bora said, my name is Maziar. I'm one of the co-founders of Venizum, together with what I call the big brain, Håkan Sjöberg. And basically, we are a layer of translation and localization intelligence inside Salesforce. So I will come more around that in a bit. But before I start, I would like to just mention out what you see in front of you, which is a quote from Nelson Mandela, which I really find beautiful, which is, if I talk to you in a language that you understand, I speak to your head. But if I talk to you in your own language, I speak to your heart. So with that said, the first thing that I would like to speak about is actually how the world is looking today in regards to languages. So it's very common that we people think that, yeah, most of the world speak English, most of the world understand English. And it might be the most used language within business, but still there is very, very far away from being even close to half of the world understanding English in both writing and speaking. So if you're a marketeer that you know are working towards a global target group, these are the 5 facts you should really know about in regards to languages. So 14% of the world's population actually speak English. And it's also included with the ones that are not native speakers, as myself. I'm from Sweden, but I still speak English. 14% of the world speak Mandarin. 7.8% of the world speak Hindi. 6.8% of the world's population speaks Spanish. and 3.5% of the world's population speak French. This means that if you're a global company and are communicating with several countries and continents, having 1 or 2 languages won't make it for you. If you have the 5 most languages spoken, which is the ones that I just listed for you, then at least you reach 50% of the population of the world. So when you're communicating with your clients, what are the different ways you actually can communicate with? What is translation, and what is, many people have heard me speak on LinkedIn and in different kind of keynote sessions about localization. And what is really translation versus localization? So then it's very important to look about the 2 different kind of categories we have in communication. The first one is what I usually call instant communication, also called real-time communication. That could be, for example, SMS, chat, chatbots. If you're using Salesforce, which most of you that are in this seminar is doing, then Chatter is one of those. So this means where 2 people are communicating with each other, and in real time, they need to actually understand each other so that the dialogue is keeping flowing. And we call that real-time communication. Then you got asynchronous communication, which more or less is that you send a message or article, or the microsites that Neil just showed, etc., which won't require an immediate response. So people might get influenced by it and go and fill in a form or contact you, etc. But it's not that they read something and immediately you're expecting them to react on it. So what is now the difference of these 2 in real life? So in front of you, you see example actually from Airbnb. So from the left side, on real-time communication, I'm going to speak about translation, and on the right side is localization. So on the left side, when it comes to real-time, then you're actually translating content, okay? You're converting from one language to another language and making sure that it's error-free. For example, Airbnb is a perfect example. Most of you in this webinar have at some point maybe booked Airbnb, and you can be 2 different native speakers. One is writing in Chinese and the other one is writing in English, and it makes sure that in real time this is translated. Now the same company Airbnb does actually campaigns towards those markets as well. And then they are localizing their content, which is not that much to do with only the language, which was the translation. So in the example you see in front of you, Airbnb in China, they are having, in the campaign picture, they are having what looks like to be the typical Chinese restaurant. And then they have their logo and slogan. Then when you're looking at their campaigns in France, for example, instead, they have the Eiffel Tower and their logo here and there. So this is localizing their content, which basically makes so that the audience can relate more to what you're actually saying. So everything that falls down under localization is expectations that will meet the cultural barrier. So just to give you more examples, this could be currency rates, date formats, images, fonts, and much more. Another very, very good company besides Airbnb that is using both translation and localization at scale to grow is actually Netflix. They're doing it beautifully. So in the banner above here in the top, what you see is a picture of how Netflix would look like in China. And they localize the content so much so that even in all the thumbnails and signs and everything, you only see Chinese letters. You don't see, if the car would say ice cream on it, then it would say in Chinese ice cream instead, but it would look like it's in the movie. So that is one way they're localizing their content. But another way they are doing it is by changing thumbnails based on your behavior. So that personalization and also localization. So one good example is this one, where a romantic movie in for example, Europe, they are showing two persons almost kissing each other, while to meet other cultural expectations in India and in Middle East, they chose for the same movie another thumbnail just to make it fit in to the cultural barriers a bit more. So enough with all of the best companies that does localization and translation. Back to Verbis and Venizum. How do we bring localization and translation into Salesforce? So Verbis is a translation application native built on Salesforce that you all can find on App Exchange. And it's built on 3 different layers that you see in front of you. So the bottom layer is built out of Google Translate Engine Volume 3. So that is what we call the generic translation engine. I guess most of the people here has at some point used Google Translate before. So it's nothing super wow, it's not super unique when it comes to the bottom layer, but the absolutely uniqueness come in the middle layer, which we call middleware translation memory. Now, middleware translation memory is where all companies enter their specific terminology being used. For example, that could be product brands, product names, membership clubs. I give you an example right away. So if you're Salesforce and you have the word Salesforce Lightning and you're translating it to other languages, most likely you want Salesforce Lightning to still be Lightning, but the rest of the text being translated. So one of the first things our clients does is that they import all their product names, product brand names, and everything else to make sure that the translation is more and more accurate the more content that they produce. The top layer is that all of this is visualized throughout Salesforce. So that's why we are calling ourselves a layer of translation and localization intelligence layer on Salesforce, because we are compatible with all the clouds that are out on Salesforce. And then it's depending if it's real-time translation or if it's collaboration translation that you're doing together with translators, etc. So giving one super quick picture of how it looks like before working with Verbis, you see in front of you that there is often somebody high up in the hierarchy deciding that this is our marketing mix and this is the messaging we're going to go for this year, for example. Then you got somebody which I call the content creator that creates the actual content in one language often, gives it to a translation coordinator. This could be a Salesforce administrator. This could be a digital campaign manager. It varies a lot. And then this person is going back and forward with every translator to make sure that the content comes back and is accurate and translated. What Verbis basically does in these complex processes when many people are involved is that we just change the exactly same picture to look like this instead. Basically, the content that gets born in Salesforce never leaves Salesforce in order to be translated or localized, which makes sure that there is no room for human errors. We don't need to copy paste that much. And we now have a streamlined way of how to do translation and localization. So this is one example, for example, for marketeers that are using Marketing Cloud or that are using Salesforce CMS and Experience Cloud that we just heard Neil speak about. So all those microsites that you build together with Salesforce Experience Cloud, then you can make sure that you have them valid in 20, 30, 40, 50, or even 200 languages if you wanted to. Now, looking at specific CMS, I want to give one example here from one of our clients that switched over. So when they were working with CMS, more or less, they were doing all these steps. I won't go through them all in detail, but it's more or less showing what they did and in which channel they were doing it. And as you see, some were using Google Translate, some were using email, Excel spreadsheets, going back and forward. But what we did was that we applied Verbis on top of their Salesforce org. And now they could reduce the process and make sure it's much shorter and actually cost them less money as well. So one key figure that they actually optimized was their external cost optimization, which went down with 70%. And the only reason being was that they could now measure translation and localization and knowing exactly how much their translators invoice them, et cetera, et cetera. Internal time optimization went down with 45%, and process time optimization went down with 60%. So this is specifically for CMS. Before I wrap it up, I don't really have the time to go into all our different cases, but everything you can come up with inside Salesforce that needs to be translated. And then I'm talking about both communication and content. When I'm talking about communication, then you will soon hear Mushmi from SMS 360 SMS app explaining about how to work with WhatsApp messages and SMS inside Salesforce. And there you can have everything translated. In the Salesforce chat, in Service Cloud or in Experience Cloud, where people are chatting with each other, you can have one agent in one country and he's serving clients all around the world. And he doesn't need to know all the languages. Verbis does it for them. So it's many use cases, every translation and localization you can come up with. Don't hesitate to either write me a question right now or ping me afterwards and I can show you all those use cases. But thank you, that was for me.
Super, thank you, Maziar, for that very interesting and insightful presentation. So I'm asking a first question here. Do you have to work with machine translation?
Absolutely not. So if you want to take off the bottom layer, so I showed a picture before here where we were built on 3 layers. So if you would like to take off your bottom layer and do not have any automatic translation engine that does the basic job that then sends over to a translator that proofreads it, then you can just take that away and the translator just works from scratch. But usually, not always, translators themselves use auto translation. So they will take your file anyway, put it in there, and then they will say that they did it manually.
Okay, thank you. And here's one that is quite typical and that I think you get quite a lot, is that usually machine translation, like a Google Translate, is not fully accurate. How is your accuracy at Verbis?
Good question. So everybody using Google Translate before have seen that you simply get some things wrong. And that is the main reason is that because it's a generic translation engine, meaning it's made so it can serve everybody in the world for everything that has to do with languages. But when you're working with a company, then our middleware, which you see here, which is called translation memory, that is picking up all the errors that gets along the way with machine learning and make sure that your translation memory just gets better and better and better and better. So you are actually creating as much content as possible, which makes the translation and localization accurate.
Great, thank you, Maziar. Here's another one that's a big one that we tend to get, which is, where does my data get stored?
This one was a good one. So this is a super simple one. And this is what I absolutely love by being native built on Salesforce. So it goes nowhere else than your current Salesforce servers. So the security assessments for us is what I love. They go like this.
Super. Another one, Maziar, is, can translators work with this as well? Sorry, can translators work with this as well and connect their preferred system?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're all about making sure that you can collaborate with all your content creators and translators inside Salesforce. Now, if we need to be as a middleman where we connect into your translator system to make sure that it's seamlessly going over to them, we do that already today. We got different clients using different systems such as SDL or XDM, etc. But then naturally, you're deciding that your data is leaving Salesforce and going somewhere else. That's your own decision.
Got it. I think we have time for one last one, Maziar,
Yeah.
and that is, will you also be able to translate SMS, notes, and other simpler communication on Salesforce?
Yes. So simple answer, yes. Everything you can see in Salesforce, we can most likely, or we can translate and localize. So the simple answer is yes.
Okay, I think we've got one more minute here, and we just got a final question in here. Let's see if we can squeeze this one in as well. What about analytics in real time to make larger business decisions and or changes in business models based on the larger community and the market?
I don't know who said that question, but I absolutely love that one. Yes. So that was the first thing we saw when we started up Venizum, that companies that have been working with translation and localization for 20 years with the same company, they don't have any data or any dashboard or anything around it. Now with Venizum and Verbis, when you're using us, you can, as any other thing, any other dashboard you build in Salesforce, have a translation dashboard where you tailor it yourself. How many words did we translate this month? How many errors did we have? How many new words did we add to the translation? You tailor it. So the answer is, once again, yes.
Okay, super. Thank you, Maziar, and thank you once again for the insights and for asking the questions. Much appreciated.